Introduction. People who identify as Asian American make up about 5.7% of the population. The term Asian Americans includes East Asians, Southeast Asians, Filipinos, Asian Indians, and Central Asians. Yet, not all people within origins in Asia identify with the Asian race and culture. Many self-identify with another race and/or culture. Therefore, it is important to never assume and instead learn what someone identifies as. It is also important to not make generalizations across Asian cultures because each culture is quite different. Beliefs and traditions regarding substance use. The beliefs and traditions within Asian societies regarding substance use varies. For the most part, many Asian cultural groups believe that alcohol has curative, ceremonial, or beneficial value. Therefore, they do not hold negative connotations regarding alcohol. Cambodian women have been known to use small amounts of herbal medicines with alcohol bases when treating pregnant women and post-delivery. These herbal medicines are said to help promote an easy delivery and increase blood circulation. Some Chinese people believe that alcohol restores the flow of qi, which is the force of life. Along with this, the Chinese character for doctor includes the Chinese character for alcohol, therefore implying that medicine uses alcohol. Across Asian cultures, substances have been used medicinally. More specifically, marijuana has been known to be used medicinally in parts of Southeast Asia. Beliefs and traditions regarding substance use continued. Yet still, some Asian Americans view substance use as a serious breach of acceptable behavior that will not be discussed. An important part to acknowledge is that a substance use problem within Asian American cultures often leads to shame. In many cultures, they view this problem as a result of moral weakness, and therefore they see it as a shame brought upon their family.
When speaking on substance use and substance use disorders in the Asian American community in the United States, the statistics show that they are actually the least likely of any other member of their major racial and ethnic groups to have substance use disorders and substance use in general. This is largely due to culture in the Asian American community. A lot of Asian Americans view substance use and substance use disorders as something that is shameful and may even cause a member of the family to be disowned or shunned from their own direct family. So, this direct cultural tie to the perception of substance use in the Asian American community really does lower the chances of someone from falling into something like substance use. Another reason that would cause an Asian American to be less likely to use substances is there is a specific enzyme that Asian Americans are typically born without, and this enzyme without it, it can cause an unpleasant flushing response in the user, which really makes alcohol use not very enjoyable for the user at all. So, these two aspects of use in the Asian American community really does lower the chances, making them the least likely community to fall down into the path of substance use.
Treatment patterns. The paragraph highlights that Native Americans actively seek and receive treatment for behavioral health issues, including substance use and mental health, at rates comparable to or even more significant than other racial ethnic groups. This research reveals that despite apparent obstacles, there is a considerable demand for and use behavioral health care among the Native American population. Treatment patterns continue. Access to treatment. The passage mentions that Native Americans are about as likely as members of other racial ethnic groups to enter behavioral health programs despite potential barriers. This indicates that Native Americans seek help for behavioral health issues, substance use disorders, and mental health concerns. Substance use treatment. The National Survey on Drug Use and Health found that across all racial ethnic groups, Native Americans were the most likely to have continued. In conclusion, the research and surveys demonstrate that Native Americans and racial ethnic groups barely actively seek medical treatment for their substance abuse and mental health problems. While they bypass medical treatment, they may practice other coping mechanisms to deal with their substance abuse. One way to change that is to educate this population about possible individual substance abuse treatments. Beliefs and attitude about treatment. Asian Americans. Some Asian societies stigmatize mental health concerns because they emphasize family honor and social harmony. Many Americans of Asian heritage prefer informal social networks over professional mental health services. Some people perceive mental health concerns as moral or character faults rather than physical conditions. Therefore, counselors must approach these clients with empathy, respect for the cultural standards, and a profound grasp of the stigma. Native Americans. Native American cultures view health as embracing the individual mental, spiritual, social, and community parts. They may select traditional healing procedures from their community over Western mental health approaches. Professional counselors treating Native American clients should be sensitive to their perspective and incorporate them into care plans whenever possible. They should also consider how historical trauma and current discrimination affect Native Americans' mental health. Believe and attitude about treatment. Pacific Islanders. Like other cultures, Pacific Islanders have unique mental health beliefs and practices. They may prioritize community and family help because mental health issues signify disharmony. Counselors should respect clients' cultural customs and aggressively build social networks. They should also include Pacific Islanders' unique challenges like migration and prejudice sensitivity. Recognizing the value of other culture is always a good idea. Counselors should understand their clients' cultural backgrounds and values to better connect with them. As an additional precaution, they should be aware of how the cultural biases may affect their performance at work. Finally, they must advocate for their clients and help eliminate local mental health care obstacles.
For treatment issues and considerations among the Asian American community, it needs to be understood that Asian Americans typically do not seek treatment, especially Western forms of treatment. They tend to treat their issues with holistical ways of treatment and within the family. So if you do find yourself treating an Asian American, it's very important for you as a counselor to pay close attention to body language and to also welcome your patient with credentials that would make them feel comfortable, such as your diploma on the wall, any kind of certifications in the specification of why they're coming to see you, and making sure that you're able to communicate with them in a warm way. Another thing to understand with the Asian American community is there's a heavy element of shame in the community. So the patient that is coming to seek treatment may not exactly feel happy or supportive in this position, and it's very important as your counselor to acknowledge this and make sure You make them feel as comfortable as possible. Um, Another key factor of having success in treating Asian Americans is having a treatment setting, maybe a center that has like um, like individuals like other Asian Americans, specifically Asian American counselors. Statistics show that when Asian Americans seek treatment and there's other Asian Americans in the center or in the treatment setting, they are up to 15 times more likely to return after the initial visit.
Mental disorders and co occurring disorders in Asian Americans are pretty interesting because the reality is these cultures tend to view their mental health and physical health just in overall terms of their health. It's a very holistic approach. Therefore, the reality is that they're more likely to present with somatic complaints versus your typical psychological distress, such as anxiety or stress. Beyond that, their culture views emotional expression as something close to just lacking in maturity, and psychological distress is something that is embarrassing and not viewed or better viewed in a very negative context. So now the Asian American population has a much lower rate of co occurring disorders, and that's mainly because they have the lowest rate of substance abuse compared to every other culture addressed, every other race slash culture addressed in the textbook. So, for that reason, they have a much lower rate of co occurring disorders. And that's also influenced by the fact that there's already some reluctance in getting treatment for psychological distress, so it's unlikely that they would report other issues or more serious mental issues. Now, with that being said, East Asians are significantly more likely to have schizophrenia. Surprisingly, they're twice as likely as white Americans, and one of the bigger concerns about this population, especially given all the turmoil that's gone on in that part of the world, is that PTSD and other traumatic experiences and issues related to that can be really hard to deal with because most of the culture revolves around just accepting all those incidences and all that type of adversity, and just moving on, just kind of acceptance, moving on. And once again, psychological distress is viewed as something that a person should be embarrassed about.
When we work with this kind of population in a cross-cultural sensitization and multicultural context, counselors must adopt theoretical approach that recognize the diversity with this group, address their unique cultural, social, and historical background. Cultural competence in this kind of population emphasize the importance that we need to develop and acquire the knowledge about difference in them and applying this knowledge in practice. On the other hand, humility involves an ongoing process on self-reflection and self-criticism to recognize and address power imbalance between counselors and the critic. We need to be competent counselors. To see Asian cultural groups such as Chinese have a Buddhist tradition in which through control behavior addressing cognitive patterns that will affect the behavior. Most Asian cultures encourage color and mood respond and instead use more indirect strategies such as that make some people feel angry rather than asking directly what the client is feeling. Survey 2009, 2001. It's important to recognize the level of acculturation of this kind of population. For instance, if the Asian American population is less acculturated, we must refer to them as Asian culture. However, when they are more acculturated, we can refer them as a strategy for addressing a specific problem like the normally American acculturate in this population. Counselors can use this framework to understand how this population intersect with other aspects of their identity, such as gender, sexuality, and socioeconomic status, and how this intersection can impact in their mental health and well-being. We must make the narrative in the therapy of individual history about their life to help them and explore and reflect using their empowerment and can adopt a feminist justice lens to handle problems such as gender inequality, discrimination, intersectionality. In overview, counselors' different approaches must encourage an open mind, willingness to learn, and respect for their unique cultural experience. The same consideration must be included to build treatment for flank to them. In theoretical approach and treatment with this kind of population, we have some ways to do the therapy to them. For example, family therapy, where the family plays a central role promoting family involvement in therapy. If the client is comfortable with it, it will be very beneficial. In Asian American, where it's less acculturated, those Asians who are in this condition prefer individual therapy to group or family intervention. It is because in group they can know and need to say, face, and feel they lost their privacy. In fact, many enter the treatment without knowing their family and friend condition. One that there is initiate the treatment, counselors should engage in ongoing self-reflection to identify their own bias and potential for microaggression. It is productive because it allows the counselor far in self-awareness, helping avoid advertently harming these clients. Some recommended statements are: you should be concerned for your husband be seeking help, or you are caring father to seek this help, to strongly reinforce the wisdom client of seeking help. The norm in Asian families is that all problems, including mental health, must be shared only with family members. In the values, share information with other person outside the family can exacerbate the problem. Group therapy can be done with this group conducted with cultural competence to designate a safe and supportive environment. This group may include individuals from various Asian backgrounds, native Hawaiian, specific islands, with their unique culture, language, and tradition. We need to be open to learning about a participant's specific cultural identity. This modality is different from the preferred option from Asian American. It's not available, this one, in an alternative support system is quickly needed. In fact, when they enter in a group, they prefer to let others talk and have difficulty being empathic. Being mindful of potential and misunderstanding due to cultural difference in communication style, non-verbal cues, or indirect communication. Cultivate open and respectful cross-cultural communication, pointing out, for example, men don't like to learn from women, and the same goes for the woman. A counselor must place high value of authority figure and hierarchy to share a group therapy, presenting the goal to garner active participation. To finish with this modality, we must highlight that Asian American culture generally appreciates education in more formal settings, such as psychoeducation. Plus, respect participant language preference provides the comfort. Mental health for this population is very beneficial for them. Provide a valuable space for individuals to come together, share experience, and support one another. As an American in 2012 data were less likely than other race and ethnic groups to report using mutual help in the past year. But this modality changed for them, but nevertheless can be productive. In fact, they don't agree with the mutual help group. Still, many of them have mutual associating in associations that benefit them because they provide financial loan for children and funeral family association with the name who share celebration and other help. Almost all we know in each kind of part of the country that they can see the Chinatown town where they have an association that is something like this. There are some Asian American groups as Korean for which the primary organization is the church, which is the first vehicle for assistance. Considering the group composition depending on the need and preference of the participant. Creating groups for specific age group of mental health concept and balancing when homogeneity and diversity with the group is a value strategy. The mental health provides service for this community linking with local and community organizations. Traditional healing and complementary methods are practices that can encompass various approaches, such as herbal medicine, acupuncture, meditation, traditional ceremonies. American Asian are twice as likely other Americans to use acupuncture. However, they could recognize the value of Western medicine, and the Chinese have developed a medical treatment system with pragmatic experimentation. Mindfulness practice from Asian cultures such as meditation, yoga, tai chi, kao yin yang, Thai Buddhist treatment, and for native Hawaiian, honoring of mana and pun rituals or Ho'oponopono can be incorporated into group therapy to encourage emotional relation and stress regulations. Emphasize the importance of holistic well-being within the group and with the concept of mental health. Recognize the interconnected of mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health. Substantial of them have a solid religious affiliations such as Protestant, Catholic, Hindu, Buddhist, and Muslim. Some of these groups primarily prefer to share this problem of substance abuse and other personal issues with their religion affiliation before asking a professional. Relapse prevention and recovery. This is a supporting recovery involves recognized cultural factors influencing mental health and substance use, addressing stigma and providing cultural sensitive intervention. However, issues involving shame can make abstinence difficult for Asian clients. The family education would engage in the recovery process, which plays a crucial role in providing supporting environment where the client permits the inclusion of it. The counselor must consider the issue and answer it with this.
In conclusion, counseling for Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and other Pacific Islanders is just like every other culture, subculture, and racial group, full of different nuances that need to be appreciated in order for clients to get the best counseling and treatment and outcomes possible. With that being said, our thought provoking question is the following. Now, this group of people present with lower incidences of substance abuse than essentially every other major racial cultural group. Now, this culture also has very negative attitudes and views regarding seeking help, not just for psychological reasons, but also for substance abuse in particular. So, is the lower incidence of substance abuse a result of the negative values associated with seeking treatment for mental illness and substance abuse? Or could it be that because of these values, there are a lower incidence of substance abuse in this particular culture? Is it some kind of self-fulfilling prophecy that's coming into play? Food for thought.